Good day, everyone, and welcome. My name is Rudy Page, and I'm really pleased. Today we have Claudine Duberry from Royal. And so this is going to be a great dialogue. And I know Claudine for her work that she's been involved with young people, particularly in the Haringey area. So, Claudine, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So, Claudine, before we get going, tell us a bit about yourself, family background.
Well, for starters, it's Dr. Claudine Duberry, but you can call me Claudine
No, I'm
Duberry.
going to call you doctor in future.
Just because we have a history. But about myself, so as you said, I live in Haringey. I have been in Haringey for over 20 years, but I was born and brought up and schooled in Hackney. I'm one of 6 siblings, the middle child, the painful one, but that's always great because we've always got the older or the younger lot to kind of bounce off of. I have several children of my own, a number of grandchildren. I have several businesses, so I'm kind of like an entrepreneur, grandpreneur, mumpreneur, whatever you want to call me. But yes, I've also got several businesses. Whatever you call me, just call me something nice, and that's okay.
Excellent, excellent, great, great. So we're going to speak about Royal. So can you give us an overview of the mission and values of Royal?
The mission and the values of Royal. The values of Royal is about us parenting our children collectively. That's our value. For us who are involved with Royal, it's that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child, but then where is the village? The village seems to be non-existent, especially in the present climate that we live in. So that's one of our values. It's the value about the children. The children are our future. They're our biggest asset. So, the mission is also bringing us all together. So, for Royal, it's how do we bring us together? So we've got several elements that brings us together. We've got the awards ceremony and gala that's happening on the 24th of November. But we've also got our leadership program, we've got our mentoring program, and our street program, where we just literally engage with children and young people on the streets. And by engaging with them on the streets, then you kind of engage with families. I think a lot of our young people have this bad reputation because we don't stop to talk to them. And often we say that they've got an attitude, but if you don't talk and engage with them, then you don't know who they are. And I suppose I learned that many years ago as a social worker, where my colleagues used to ask, well, how do you just go out on the street and talk to them? But if you're always far removed, how do you expect them to talk to you? And even sometimes, when they've got this face on that says, don't talk to me, if you run a joke with them, you find that that face very quickly changes.
Of course, and I understand that, because what you're saying, those old 3 key principles of young people need somewhere to go, young people need something to do, young people need someone to show them how. So
yeah,
that's excellent. So,
and the question is, so how do we do that? I mean, we've lost a lot of our youth services. So the somewhere to go right now is the streets. There's something to do, that old saying, the devil finds work for idle hands, because that's a lot of what it's about. But there's something to do. We can definitely pick that up and run with it. I mean, a lot of the parents that I engage with, it's, I get up in the morning, get the children ready, they go off to school, I go to work, I come back, I cook, I clean, I feed them, they go to bed, and we lose that middle part. Who's communicating with them? Who's sitting down? Who's doing the homework? Who's saying, how was your day? How was your friends? What happened at school today? Is there something I should know? We're missing that. And what we're saying is time for us to stop living on history, but begin to create our own history and our own story again.
Mentoring is important.
Yeah.
It really is. So why the name Royal?
It's really funny because when we first came up with Royal, people like, but that kind of relates to the country and the country's leaders. But when you break it down, Royal stands for raising our youth as leaders. And that's what we've got to get back to do. We've got to continue to raise our youth as leaders. And I said, when our children are born and when they're 5, 6, and 7, they've got this dream, they've got this goal. I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a scientist, I'm going to be a footballer, I'm going to be an astronaut. And as they get older, that dream dies because there's no one there to stoke the fire or to remind them or to encourage them and to mentor them that this is your dream, this is your goal, and we're going to get you there. And then for us, we don't have enough of our children and young people who feel like they can be leaders. You know, unfortunately, our school system is overpopulated. It's got its own challenges. And so we lose sight of what your goal was. We lose sight of how you thought you were going to be a leader. And so that's back down to us. We have to go back to the drawing board and say, excuse me, we are raising our youth as leaders.
Yeah, I mean, you're touching on the collective responsibility of the community itself.
Yeah.
In terms of the adults. And in fact, there is a good program. I'll definitely link you with Dean Roden. He has an online program every Tuesday. It's based in Connecticut. And what they do, they have young people, they come on their primary school age group, and they actually dress up in the professions that they aspire to. And then he links them with a professional from that actual sector as well as a mentor. So definitely.
And right there, that is so important. So that's part of what we do. We kind of look out in the community and see who's doing what. Yeah, okay, you know, we may not be able to meet everybody's goal and everybody's dream, but we've started somewhere. So if you want a footballer, if you want a doctor, you know, we do the programs that we just go into children's A&E. What does a children's A&E nurse look like? What do they do? What does a children's A&E doctor look like? And why we go children is because normally we focus on the 10 to 18. So you're still in children's A&E when you're 18. Only when you're after, now you're in the adult side and it becomes a little bit more hectic. But we focus on a lot of the things that, because we're still trying to keep that fire burning. What was it you wanted to do? And regardless of the challenges that you've gone through, you know, there's a saying that say we lost a lot during the lockdown and a lot of children were impacted and affected. And yeah, but why can't we rebuild those dreams? Why is it's so easy for them to go back out and get back into the street life? So it's equally as easy for us to say, okay, this was the dream. This is what happened pre-2000. So let's pick it up and let's kind of rebuild that. You know, the books, the holidays, the trips away on the weekend. Let's do it.
No, absolutely. And of course, another great body for that is the Reach Society. Every April, they have their careers conference for young people. Obviously, they're
exactly
from 13 years upwards. So get great models, 20, 30 role models from African and Caribbean background, which of course is very important for some of the youngsters. And so, yeah, that's definitely another organization I think definitely should be connected into your work. So tell us a bit about the team that's behind Royal then.
The team that's behind Royal, I think they're all very, very special. We've got a head teacher who's got over 30 years of being a head teacher. He's managed a number of schools, a number of alternative provisions. So he knows, you know, that kind of road. So we've got that. We've got a young man who has turned his life around. You know, he was definitely that young person that was on the streets creating mayhem. And for me, the importance about him is he has
the lived experience.
And that's it. That's the importance of it. He's got a lived experience. So when you go and you talk to the young people, a lot of young people have this way of saying to you, you don't understand, or you don't know what it is. So for me, he is an ideal candidate, and he actually does fantastic work, especially when it comes to mentoring our young people, or kind of getting them to hold on to their goals. Or sometimes, I mean, I still work in the court system, and sometimes when I go into the courts and I see the young people and they're like, well, now I've been in trouble, or I've got a criminal record, nobody's going to want me. But when I then bring in this young man to the game, he has a criminal history. He's had a criminal history for years. But when you look and see what he's doing now, it's like, okay, well, I've not quite reached you, so I can do that. We've got a pastor who's definitely on team, and he does a lot of community work with the church, with the outreach. He's got a driving school, so he gives them that, because also a lot of what we're picking up at the moment is a lot of young people who want to drive, but you ain't got a driving license. Now you're always in trouble. So can we address that as well? And we've got myself who, as you know, I do all the other pieces around children, young people, family, criminal justice, education, what I do.
Excellent. So you've touched on it, but why should everyone really get involved with Royal? And I guess the question is also how? Why and how?
I think why we all need to be involved is because if you say, I've got a child, I've got a young person, these are my biggest asset, I can't do it on my own. So it's like saying, why should everybody be a part of the village? Why does that terminology that says it takes a village to raise a child, why is that still important? Then if you ask yourself that, then you've answered, why do I need to be involved with Royal? Because Royal is about raising it doesn't say raising it says raising our children, our youth as leaders. And that's because we see every child, young person in the community as our children. If we take it back to the days gone by, everybody was auntie, everybody was uncle, everybody was Mrs., everybody was Mr. And that was how our children were raised. So what we're saying is, if we're going to stop saying it's their fault, if we stop saying it's the way the country's running, if we come together as a collective and say, okay, I've got a challenge, this is my child, I know my child, my young person is my biggest asset, how can I invest in them to make sure that I raise them as a leader and they don't fall foul of the system that we're living in?
Excellent, excellent. So just before I bring Don in, just to give his perspective on what you said. So can you just tell us when is the event, and where can people get the tickets? Who is it aimed at?
Okay, so the tickets are online. So the tickets are on Eventbrite, although we've had a recent flyer going around that says if individuals want to get tickets, they can get tickets from the various distributors. And why I did that is because we realized that a lot of the time that if you go onto Eventbrite, you're literally paying for the booking fee. And we were like, okay, well, not everybody wants to pay the booking fee, and the booking fee takes your ticket up by about £5. So if we sell you the ticket, we're leaving the money in your pocket. So if they want to, there's flyers that's going around with the distributor's number. The event is on Saturday, the 25th of November. The event is going to be at the Cavendish Banqueting Hall, which is in Edgware. It is an absolutely lovely venue. And it has that royal, regal feeling about it. And we've got to step up our game. And that's why we chose that venue. But not only is it for adults, we're saying to the adults, bring the young people along. Show them exactly how we do things. Nothing is outside of their reach. So as I said, you can get your tickets from us. You can go onto our website.
How much are the tickets?
The tickets at the moment, the tickets are £75. So we started off on our early bird tickets. We're now on the next course of tickets, which actually are going fast. And yeah, for me, it is important that we all be there. We've got 10 nomination categories. I mean, we've even got a category that says, I'm making it even though I've gone through various adversities. I'm making it even though I've gone through some mental health challenges. I'm making it even though I've been excluded from the education system. So there's 10 different categories. And we're saying to people, you know a young person that deserves to be nominated. Get on the website and nominate them.
Great. Don, give you an opportunity just to give a perspective on what you've heard.
Okay, my name is Donald Campbell. Those who don't know me, I'm the founder of an organization called the Forgotten Generations, which look at archiving information of African and Caribbean people in terms of visual or oral and in writing. This is just great what I've heard here from Claudine in terms of the whole thing, you know, the village and the child, and to actually look at what a village means nowadays in terms of what it meant back in the day. And it's so much needed in the community for us to harness our youngsters who are the future. Just one question regarding Claudine, regarding meeting people on the street. How do you actually engage with them? Is that easy?
So why that's happened, during the lockdown, we were commissioned by the Met in Haringey and Enfield to go out and do some work engaging with our young people. Now, first of all, a lot of them came through the custody suite, but them coming through the custody suite, they were then put back out on the street. And the biggest challenge was, we don't know how to go out and meet them. But for us, it was, we will go and sit and talk to you at the bus stop. We'll go and sit and talk to you outside of school. We'll go and sit and talk to you at the bottom of the stairwell of the estate that you're hanging out in. But you've got to not have the aloof presentation about you. So what's really important with the team that we engage with is, a lot of the time you see us, we've got on our jeans and our trainers and our bomber jackets, and we're just like them. And I think when you approach them from that perspective, they're easier to talk to you than when you approach them in your suit and your tie and your trousers, and they're just like, right, so you're another official, and actually I'm not going to have that conversation with you. So yeah, going out and meeting them, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's not easy for everybody, but we've managed to do it, and we managed to engage with a lot of young people then who we're still involved with now. And I mean, even at that time, we engaged with a young lady who was about to be excluded from school permanently. And I recently did a video with her, which I can share with you. And she said, you know, they came along Last Chance Saloon, and they gave me a chance. They did the bidding for me in the school, and the school kept me on. But it, you know, it took us a long time. And now she's doing fantastic in the community. She wanted to sing. She now has a record contract. And Rudy, it's a shame you didn't tell me you was in Jamaica. I'd have told you to hook up with her, because she's actually down there doing recording at the moment. Excellent. You know, and she's doing work she's up in Haringey and Enfield, and she also wanted to sew. So her passion was, I just want you lot to leave me alone. I just want to do these 2 lessons. I want to do music and I want to do sewing, and I'm not going to do anything else. And for us, it was like, okay, if we can promise you that you can do this, can you do everything else? And she kind of did that. And then with the young people out on the streets, it was literally meeting them. And, you know, they hang out kind of outside takeaways. They hang out on the bus stops. They hang out on the estates. It's going to meet them in their environment as opposed to calling them to meet us in ours.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Quite a comprehensive answer there. The other point I really like is having role models, you know, people that look like me and you, and, you know, as a youngster, you want to see that. So you want ambassadors in the community who have done certain things that they want to be. And sometimes they don't even know what they want to be. I mean, I'll give you for instance, I mean, I'm very much military, 36 years in the Royal Air Force. So, you know, you cut my vein, you will see Royal Air Force. But it doesn't mean I don't know about the armed forces and why it's there or why they're there. yeah, there are a lot of our youngsters who would fit in that model, but they probably don't even know that. So when I go out and do talks, wherever I do talks in the community, schools, colleges, universities, I say, if you're thinking of being a part of the armed forces, then why not? Because it's there, and you are going to be one of those people who are protecting your nation, because the nation needs protecting. Yeah. So it's opening up all the avenues, which I really like what you say there, in terms of whatever category, we must provide it for them. But the overall statement that you made is creating in them to become leaders. Not everybody will be a leader, but at least you'll be giving them directions to make them believe in themselves. Because there are a lot of people out there that will look at you and make you feel as if you can't. And if people keep telling you that you can't, you probably end up believing you can't, even though you can.
And there is many that who are happy to volunteer and enable young people to get to where they need to get to, as Claudine said.
Absolutely.
And these types of intervention programs do exist in our community, and we've just got to amplify them more and share them more. And of course, our community members, going back to my point around collective responsibility, need to come back and volunteer, because they will get skills. We've got a lot of people from African and Caribbean background now who've got executive skills, but if they volunteer and support the development of young people, that will contribute to them gaining non-executive skills. And a lot of our professionals do want to be on boards, run advisory groups, and I'm always saying to them, volunteer in the community, because you will also gain those types of skills, because when they go forward for some of these senior positions, that's one of the key things that I look for. What contribution have you made to your community?
Yeah,
as you've made your way up. So that's why these types of activities that Claudine's talking about is really important. So Claudine, just before you go, can you just tell us the website again and any other details that you want to leave?
And just before I go, I'd like to thank Don. I mean, he did a piece for us not so long ago in in one of the presses that he writes for. And so we were fortunate enough to have our article beside the Windrush. And also why Royal is so important to us this year is because it's Windrush 75. And what I said was, our young people need to remember, we, including me, we're standing on the shoulders of some real champions, proper leaders, you know, and if they've paved the way for us, we need to take every opportunity possible. And also at the Royal Awards, we're also hoping to have some of Don's colleagues from the Royal Air Force. Some of them are definitely up in age, but it shows you that I weren't always this old, but I've done my part. And if you're going to do your part, and if you're going to respect what I've done, and if you're going to stand on my shoulder, you really, really need to create your story. Forget about history, but it's about his story. And so the website is www.weareroyal.co.uk.
Thank you very much. And that was Dr. Claudine Duberry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And Don, thank you for your participation. Most valuable insight. And just to let everybody know, we will be rebroadcasting this on Fresh FM Radio London. So you can just shout at your smart speaker, or you can go to freshfmradiolondon.com. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.